everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Michelle. I never remember to tell people that. It's probably just like I assume everybody knows that's my name. I'm Michelle, and this is my channel, Mixing with Michelle. And I'll probably never do that again in one of my videos because I won't remember. So, today I'm going to share with you some of my favorite cookbooks. They're Trim Healthy Mama or Keto. And let me start off with saying, so if your favorite cookbook isn't in my stack, that doesn't mean I don't like it. It just means that I really had a tough time trying to cut down my cookbook love as far as showing my favorites. I picked 6, and I thought when I started I would just come up with 2 or 3, right? Because we don't need 10 cookbooks. Well, I mean, I have a lot of cookbooks, but it is so hard to pick a favorite. So I have it down to 6 cookbooks, and I'm going to share them with you. Some of them you've probably heard of because, well, they're Trim Healthy Mama friendly ones, or different ones that have been mentioned on the blog, or just, well, some of them you'll have heard of. Some of them you might not have. And I'd love to hear down below those of you that have heard of some of the cookbooks other than the 2 main ones that you'll see in a minute. And if you've enjoyed them, or anyway, just be kind of interesting to see if I'm the only one that's discovered some of these, because some of them I kind of stumbled across after I started Trim Healthy Mama, and some of them I didn't even realize were keto related until later. So anyway, let's get started, and I'll show you my favorite Trim Healthy Mama cookbook first. Alright. My favorite is the Trim Healthy Mama cookbook. This is actually, I think technically this is their 2nd cookbook. And it's by far my favorite. I have cooked through all 3 of their cookbooks. I cooked through the first one because I started in 2013. And we only had that big, huge thing that was like that thick. And I actually took it and got it spiraled into 3 different books because it was so big. And I got just the recipes spiraled into one, and that worked so much better. But I have made probably every single recipe in there at least once, multiple times, some of them, and some of the recipes I still use and I love. But this one is definitely my favorite. You can see I got it spiraled. And I've drowned this book. Now you can't really tell, but I ripped the cover off. That's why it's got the plastic over it, because I ripped the cover. And like I said, I drowned the book. And yeah, I've absolutely loved the book. This book took me a year to cook through. And that was with, I had already used it. I just decided one year I was going to completely cook through it, and I believe I started cooking, I think it was in March, and then I ended in December. So I didn't really completely in a year, but pretty close, because I had cooked many recipes out of it before, but I just thought it would be kind of neat to cook through it after I was watching a couple of vloggers, and they were like, yeah, I'm cooking through it, trying to make more recipes and do different things, and I'm like, oh, I could totally do that. I've already cooked so many, and I knew I had cooked through the original one already. So anyway, this one is definitely my favorite, and one of my most favorite recipes in this one I need to share with you, because most people are like, I hate that recipe, which seems kind of funny, but my favorite one in here, I'll get it out and I'll show you. Okay, so this is my very favorite one. I believe they call it the Sweet Dreams Cookie Bowl Oatmeal, but if I'm correct, it was actually in their original cookbook, and I really, really loved it. But so many people had trouble making it, and it didn't turn out, and they just thought it was disgusting and nasty. And I don't think they changed this recipe much at all when they redid it in this cookbook. But I still make that one because it's a fuel pole. And there aren't very many things for breakfast that are fuel pole that I love. But this is my favorite one. So anytime when I do a fuel cycle, this is the very first recipe I will put on my list for the fuel cycle. Fuel cycle. Sorry. Sometimes I get myself mixed up. But anyway, that's one of my very favorites from this cookbook. I mean, there are many others. I just wanted to share that one because I think a lot of people actually don't like that recipe, and I absolutely love it. So if you've made it and it's not quite turned out right, or you just can't, I encourage you to keep trying, because I will be honest, the very first time I made it, it wasn't, I don't remember what happened, but it wasn't quite right. I don't know if it didn't set up right or whatever it was, but when you when you let it sit overnight, it's so much better. So I'm really thankful that I didn't just not try it again. I knew that I would love it because it had peanut butter in it. Peanut butter chocolate, I think not like that. So I'm glad that I tried again, and now every time I've made it, I'm pretty sure it turned out. I don't think I've ever had it not turn out. So don't give up. Try again. I think you'll like it if you keep trying, especially if you like peanut butter and chocolate. If you don't like peanut butter and chocolate, okay, fine, I'll forgive you. You can skip this one. But I really love peanut butter and chocolate, and that's why I think this is like one of my favorite recipes from the book. Alright, now I'll show you my next one. Alright. This is the next one, which I think a lot of Trim Healthy Mama people have actually talked about or seen, because Cynthia Ketchum has a lot of recipes that we've used. And this is actually her very first cookbook. And I think that's kind of funny, because sometimes it's the first cookbook you've seen by the author that you absolutely love. And that's not always the same for me. But this particular time, I really loved Cynthia Ketchum's. This is her first book. Now, I have all of her other ones. Don't get me wrong. I have all the other ones. But this one is probably, I don't know why it's my favorite. It's like when I reach for a cookbook and I just like remember what's in here, I love this one. So, I'm going to show you my very favorite recipe. Alright, this is my very favorite recipe. It's actually her breakfast recipe, and it is called the Caprese Omelette Roll. Basically, it's an omelet wrapped, it's like an omelet wrap, and then it has like tomatoes and basil and stuff in it, and it's so good in the summertime. In fact, since I remember about it, I might actually have to try that tomorrow, because I haven't had it in a while. But I just now have fresh tomatoes and fresh basil, so it's like the perfect time to try it. But anyway, that's one of my very favorites in her cookbook. And if you haven't tried that recipe and you have her cookbook, you have to go try it, because it's amazing. And right now is like the perfect time to go get some fresh basil and tomatoes, because it's in my garden. And if it's in my garden, I bet you can get it where you are at a farmer's market or something. Or, I mean, you can always go to the grocery store, but hey, who wants to go to the grocery store and you can go to the farmer's market and get fresh, you know? Sorry, that's just my little plug, because I loved going to the farmer's market. Alright, now my next cookbooks are probably ones that aren't as, like, widely known as Cynthia Ketchum's. And, let's see if you've seen any of these. Alright. This one is Marie Emmerich, and she's actually, I think she's either from Wisconsin or Minnesota, or she's somehow from the Midwest, and since I'm from the Midwest, it's just really cool. But one of my friends actually loaned me this cookbook, because I don't know how we got on the subject of keto, but we did. And she had a couple of cookbooks, and she had this one, and at the time, actually now I have two people in my family that are supposed to be dairy free, so I loved this because it had so many recipes in that were dairy free. So that's one of the reasons I really loved this cookbook, because it had like normal everyday recipes that were dairy free. And I don't know about you, but it's like so miserable sometimes when you look through cookbooks, especially in keto, and everything has dairy. I mean everything. That makes it so hard to cook, because it's like, okay, well, I can't have that, and I can't have that, and I can't have that. So, anyway, this is one of my favorite recipes in her cookbook, and I've actually made it a couple of times. And it's the no-bake grasshoppers in a jar. And it's actually based from a restaurant in Wisconsin. I've actually never been to that restaurant. I probably should go since I live here, but anyway. That's one of my favorites, and my husband really liked it. Alright, so this is my 4th book, and I've actually talked about this on my YouTube channel before, because I've cooked meals from this. And I kind of stumbled across his YouTube channel accidentally. I clicked up cooking and keto or something, and it came up. And he has a chicken recipe that I absolutely love that has a salad with kale and pineapple, and it is amazing. Just simply fabulous. I've made it a lot. And then when he had a cookbook, I was really excited because I was really hoping that recipe was in there. It was not in the cookbook. That was very disappointing. I still love the recipe, and I'll still forgive him, but I was like really hoping the recipe was in the cookbook because it was a real pain to print it off from his website to try and get it. And it was so difficult to find because it was a meal prep one and it wasn't listed under what the ingredients were, because it was jerk chicken with kale pineapple salad, and I was like, oh. But I had to convert it just a little bit because pineapple is an E, obviously, so I had to cut down on the oil and just fiddle with the dressing and little stuff. But it was so good and I love it. Actually, I should probably make that again. Not that I'm thinking about it, but anyway, when I got this cookbook, yes, I was disappointed with it, but all of his recipes are really good, and it's a keto meal prep, so that's what I do. So that's one of the reasons I bought the cookbook, other than I love all his food. And I don't think any recipe I've ever made of his has not turned out, or we didn't love it. He's just so good. But anyway, this was one of my favorites of his, is the Greek chicken with the spaghetti squash. And I think it was just because it was extremely simple, and I always have spaghetti squash, and it was just something nice and refreshing that wasn't the same recipe for spaghetti squash it always is. It just seems like it's always a lot of cottage cheese and stuff on it, and this one really wasn't that. So that was just kind of a nice, fresh idea to go with it. But this is one of my favorites from this book. And there's another one that's really good that I think it's called Alabama Barbecue, and I have to swap it around a little bit because it comes with black beans, but he uses what is it? He uses a type of bean, but it's not actually black beans, but it's a soybean, and I don't do soybeans at all, so I just did regular black beans and tweaked the recipe a little bit just to make it an E, and it was fantastic. So that one is probably, I would say, like I almost said that it was my favorite, but I don't know. Maybe I'll just show it to you because it was such like, which one do I show? Because it was like my very favorite. It's called Alabama White Barbecue Chicken, and it looks like this. Doesn't that just look amazing? And it was so good. Like I said, I had to tweak it a little bit to make it an E, but it was really good. I've had it multiple times. Okay, I have 2 cookbooks left. And these ones, I found these at my library, and I kept checking out because I loved them so much. And I don't know what drew me to them, except that they just seemed like they were simple, quick, easy, and I didn't have a lot of ingredients that I didn't have, and I didn't have to go look for it, and I knew what they were. So anyway, there's 2 of them. They're 2 different authors. This is the Ultimate Ketogentic Cookbook. I have cooked through this. That's how much I love this book. And I don't know, it's kind of hard to say which one is my favorite recipe because I've made so many in this book. But I'll show you this one. My husband loves this one. These are Mediterranean turkey meatballs, and my husband loves that recipe. I've made it for him multiple times, and then you make a little garlic sauce to go with it, and I don't know, I just like it because it's not a tomato sauce. And I think sometimes tomato sauce is kind of I don't know, we use it a lot, and I just wanted a little bit of a break. And then the other one that we make a lot is the chocolate chip blondies. And I like it because it tasted a lot like a cookie. And if I was smart, I would have put it in a muffin tin, so it would have been more like a cookie. But I used to usually just put it in a pan because that's what the recipe says to do. But that's kind of like my favorite. And then I know that I'm showing you 2 recipes. I promise I'm not gonna do it for all of them. But this is the other one that I really like, and I think the reason this one like really drew me to the book is it seemed like it had a lot of vegetables and greens in it, and I feel like we don't eat enough of that. And that's one of the things I liked about the meal prep book from Bobby Parrish, is that he always had a side and it had vegetables, and he had a lot of greens. And that's something that I'm really trying to work on, is to do more greens. So that was really helpful. And Trim Healthy Mama does too, but I think their main focus is just to get whatever recipe they are presenting, and they don't always show a picture with it and be like, eat it with spinach. I don't know. It's just a little bit different. They're just set up different, and there's not anything wrong with it. I just need somehow some encouragement to eat more greens, because that's really a struggle that I have. So anyway, just a minute and I'll show you my favorite recipe. Alright, so my favorite recipe is actually, I think I actually linked it on my blog more than once because I've made it multiple times, but it's this one. And this is actually a cinnamon roll shuffle pancake. Essentially, it's a omelet with a few other ingredients with some cinnamon in it, and it's this giant pancake that you make in a pan. And it's just, yes, because I eat eggs, and yet it's cinnamon. I don't know, it was just really good. I know it's not greens, and that was the whole reason I love this cookbook. But I've made this recipe so many times, and I'll even make it for my non-keto family members, and they still really like it. And actually, they haven't asked for it in a while. I think we kind of forgot about it, because when we eat a lot of eggs, we get kind of tired of it, and this is one way I could get them to eat eggs. But anyway, that's probably my very favorite recipe from this particular cookbook. So I'll be sure that I link all of the cookbooks on Amazon down below. And no, I don't have an Amazon store or anything. I haven't set that up yet. I'm just going to link them below so you can check them out for yourself. And then let me know, have you heard of any of these cookbooks before, or of the authors? And let me know what you think about their cookbooks. And if you have cooked in their cookbooks, which recipes are your favorite? I shared you some of my favorites, so now it's your turn. Now that's all I got for you today. And I think I'm ready to go take my nap. Well, maybe not. It's only 3:30. I feel like that. It's been really hot and muggy, and I don't like that part of summer. I love the garden. I don't like the heat. And thankfully our pool's up and running, so maybe I should get in the pool. I don't know. I have to think about it. But anyway, thanks for tagging along and chatting and listening to me chat on and on about my cookbooks and my recipe and my food. And yeah, sometimes I can just go on and it's squirrel, or whatever you call it. So anyway, thanks for tagging along, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.